Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Paradise Recreation and Park District Board of Directors special meeting of September 18th, 2025. Would you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you all very much for joining us in the pledge. Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Director Robert Anderson,
Here.
Director Steve Rodwick,
Here.
Secretary John Stonebreaker,
Here.
Vice Chairperson Mary Belfay,
Here.
and Chairperson Alma Green.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I want to personally, on behalf of the board, welcome all our guests this evening, particularly those from the Paradise Community Center. Good to see you all this afternoon, as well as representative from the McGill Community Park. Next item on the agenda is public comment. This is an item on the agenda for the attending public, if they so desire, can speak to the board on anything that's not on today's agenda. If there just happens to be something not on the agenda, but you just want to bring to our attention, this is your chance. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to talk about a non-agenda item? Please come forward.
Good afternoon. So at the last board meeting last week, there was a resolution honoring Mary. And I didn't have a chance to speak to that. So just very briefly, all I wanted to say was we will miss you. Knew this was coming, had a sort of a heads up through Rotary and through here. But thank you for always being there, for being a good listener, and for providing constructive feedback and never, even when there was something that might have been negative that came up or something we needed to work through, you always had something positive and encouraging to say back to me. And so I appreciated that personally. And I know I've heard that from others too in the community, because obviously you have been here much longer than I have. And I work with so many more organizations. So again, thank you for all that you've done for your community and also for your understanding of ours as well.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that very much, and I appreciate you. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on a non-agenda item today? Judging from the silence, apparently not. So we're going to move on. First item under old business, item 3.1, Paradise Community Center donation resolution number 25-09-2-553. General Manager, you want to lead off on the discussion on this for us and the board?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to spend a little time with this, not to belabor it, but just I think there's a lot has happened that people have kind of forgotten about. But this was been a long-standing effort, starting with you okay? Okay. In 2021, we had an MOU to explore the feasibility of working together on a collaborative effort to rebuild the former Paradise Senior Center, and it was renamed the Paradise Community Center with the nonprofit board. We had a successful process on that. One of the big takeaways, I think, on it, there's good information that we got on design and some suggestions. While some of that may not have been carried forward, it did carry through with the outdoor components. And I think importantly, having a lot of public comment and support. So I think that really, I mean, for our organization, really energized our thinking about how important it was to the community and how much support was out there for it. We had engaged on another MOU to explore basically project development, try and develop capital campaign, try and support any efforts on construction, cheerlead and support. I have to say that the nonprofit that we work with and the members of that body were really took up that task, and there wasn't a lot for us to do other than check in every now and then. They did a remarkable job, and I think the original MOU that we had was to report on the status, bring it back to the board, and then follow through with a follow-up. But I think there was so much progress, we've kind of leapfrogged that. So there's, that's what you have before you today is, the PCC has successfully been able to construct it, meeting some deadlines, including a pretty challenging one of May 12th on the construction to get some supplemental insurance money. Every step of the way, when we brought up questions or issues, they've had good answers. So this report details some of that information here, and I'll just jump to where we're at today, basically. And if you're following along, I'm on page 4. You've driven by the building. I'm sure everyone in the room has driven by the building. If not been inside, it looks fantastic. It's ready. They followed through with a lot of add-ons that weren't ready on May 12th, such as adding amenities to the commercial kitchen. It's now ready for operation, essentially. Needs utensils, pots, pans, all that, but all the appliances are in place. The building itself has a solar that I think we could probably get an update on it today, what that status of it is. But it's ready to go as far as the building operations. There are a lot of steps for us, and we've been challenged, I think, with jumping too far ahead on our staff's very excited about potential for programming, what it might look like from a programming revenue standpoint. We've even kicked around some ideas on, at least for this first year, having an event there every month that's district sponsored, that we try and highlight some of the groups that we have in the community, kind of a little bit like neighbor to neighbor in a way. So trying to kind of jumpstart activities there and get people inside and excited about it. The report goes through some of those fiscal impacts. There are potential proceeds that would be transferred to the district that may help us on contents of the building and operations. One of the things that I think we would like to maintain, and keeping with the spirit with the original facility, is a presence there on a regular basis. So even if we don't have classes, that someone could, a senior especially, could drop in and have social time, have a play game, read a book, something that would be kind of a good social, a third space for people to use in the community. Excitingly, we may have some short progress on support for that here shortly with the town of Paradise on a grant. So we're exploring that right now, and that would probably be in our next meeting to at least support that first year of operation or so. Other items in here, we have costs associated with operation of the building, and then some of the, I think, long-term ideas on developing a management plan, business plan, coming up with marketing for the facility, and just keeping it busy. It's an amazing asset for the community. I think a lot of people are very excited about it. I have to say, it's kind of bittersweet for me to be at this stage because I've enjoyed working with these amazing people. So they can stop by every month. Should we keep the same meeting time? But it's really been, I think, remarkable. You can hear I'm getting a little emotional on it, but they've done a lot to get to this point. And I can't say enough about their diligence, their perseverance, and patience working with us as a governmental agency. But it's been a fantastic partnership, and we're excited to recommend that our board pass the resolution, has been reviewed by legal counsel on page 5, to accept the property, authorize the execution of that transfer of assets, and bring this to completion. I'd love for the group to come up and answer any questions, but I'd like to take any from the board first.
Okay, thank you, Manager Afseth. We'll start with Steve. Do you have any dialogue or questions of the staff or of the senior nonprofit group?
None at this time. I understand they might give us an update on the solar, and that we'll just wait for that. I had one question regarding that, but I can hold off.
Okay. Robert? No?
I have quite a few questions. So if you'd like me to take the floor here. So first question is, as I'm trying to read through the conditions of title, are there any encumbrances that would preclude us from surplusing this asset if it turns out the district cannot afford to continue to operate it?
I didn't hear the end of your question.
Well, I have a lot of questions, and it's not clear in what order I need to be asking them. So as I'm attempting to read through the conditions of title, I'm trying to determine if there are any encumbrances that would preclude the district from surplusing it in the way that Feather River Recreation and Park District surplused its Feather River Boulevard property recently when they could no longer operate it.
Yeah, I think on the title's clean, so that's not an issue. I think there is kind of this obligation and spirit of it that we'd want to maintain it, operate a community asset. I think it's viable as a community asset,
Right.
which may be different than what Feather River's facility was. That
Well,
was not built as a community facility. So that was and it was from a private seller.
And
There are s-
one other difference if I
Yeah.
can add, there was a sizable mortgage on that facility, whereas this one will be
Right.
clear.
That's a very important point. So that was an initial anchor for Feather River, that they had basically a mortgage payment to pay for that facility that wasn't making it. And this would be free and clear on it with potentially some assets coming into it to help with operations. It's going to be a top-notch facility. We've already gotten inquiries about usage. I think for us, it's going to be challenging to have some, what we would call anchor tenants, and that could be our programs, like certain programs that we want here, versus over there, or are they going to be transferred? So for example, we're exploring the idea of perhaps our yoga and judo maybe over there, keep the mats out easy rather than the shell game that we play in here. There was a agreement we'd want to honor with the PCC or PPAC on the parking and shared resources there. So we'd want to have engage with them on that, but that's more of a negotiation. That's not a tied in with the deed or obligation. So this is, as Director Roderick just pointed out, it's an asset that would be coming to us that really be operational costs for us and not the capital costs going into it, except for the initial contents of the building.
So I want to confess that I've known Jan Keller since a few days after I moved to California, and she was one of the first Paradise residents I reconnected with after Campfire. I remember her joy in announcing to me that her home had survived despite my own ambivalence about mine. And I want to commend the work that this nonprofit has done in rebuilding what would be a community asset. And I do want to see the doors open. I do have fond memories of going over to the old building for Cribbage Club and such things. I want to say that despite that, and my respect for all of the principals here, I do also have an obligation to 20,000 other people to try to shepherd the district's operations back within its fiscal means. So I would like to ask whomever chooses to answer this question, possibly one of the nonprofit officers, were the nonprofits 990s provided to district staff with regards to the revenues and expenditures related to this facility in the past?
I can answer some of that. Some of those records were lost to Campfire. We did ask about some of their operations and costs early on about it. So a significant part of their income wasn't necessarily from the building itself, is from their store that they operate. So that's some of the nonprofit funding of it, and they could speak to certainly that operations of it. One of the big obligations that's required state of California is anytime there's a transfer of assets, it has to be reviewed by the Attorney General of the state of California. So that, again, can be an update on it today, but that requires audits that are clean. It requires a plan that these assets have to be not sold off, but transferred, first of all, to a nonprofit or governmental entity like us. And so I think in that sort of exploration of different options, I think from our side, it seemed like a good match. And I think the nonprofit could certainly speak to it on that we seem like the best fit as far as the organizations up here that could carry on that work and effort and the notion of it.
I concur that our staff is well placed to carry on the operations. I just have significant doubts about the hit to our operations that this would create. So I'm looking at summaries of 2011 through 2017 990s filed by the coalition, later Paradise Community Center. And it does not appear to me to be realistic that this would only be a minus $100,000 to our taxpayers. So if someone would like to speak to that with regards to the portions of the nonprofits revenues that were actually related to income from the building, whether it's, what they would be considered rental income or programming services, as opposed to what are contributions. So even though staff has previously told us that the district will be moving to a cost recovery model, which is still a policy decision we will have to make in the future, it doesn't seem as though cost recovery for acquiring this facility is realistic. I would also ask if someone who knows might like to answer, now that the building has been functionally completed, is it being insured, and what is the annual cost of that insurance?
Okay, yes, the building is insured. It was insured not only during the course of construction, it was insured as soon as we completed, which was May 6th of this year. So everything is brand new and everything was approved by the town. We have a certificate of occupancy and all of the building codes were upgraded to exactly what we had to do right now to build this building. And the insurance was under 11,000, it was 10,800, I think, for the year after we built it. And that was with the California Fair Plan. I don't know what the renewal would be, but that's what we had to pay for this year.
Thank you. That was close to my estimate. I would also say that a facility like this, where everything is brand new, will depreciate. Components like roofs and HVAC systems and all of that have a functional lifespan. And although for the first 5 or 10 years we might not be feeling that, in the long run, owning this additional facility will lead to additional expenses in the future to keep it in the beautiful condition it now is. I think that's all for now. I'd like to let some of my other colleagues have a word.
Okay.
Yeah, I could mention one thing about the long term. This is something that I think a lot of, frankly, governments, not just small special districts, but struggle with, is that depreciation, those repairs over time. One thing that we're going to have when we go through our master plan is we will have an inventory of all of our facilities and sort of a cost schedule laid out, so we can do some budgeting for it. We do some of that right now with the pool, for example. We've been budgeting, even though we didn't. There are surprises that we put under the pool budget because it's an older facility, and we knew that there would be some improvements, and that's proven to be the case. We couldn't predict what would fail, but it would be the pump, it would be the chlorinator, it would be the heating system, and that's happened over the last 3 years. So those are replaced, which kind of simplifies our cost over time. But we have, that's some of the budgeting that we do, that we want to build it in a little more systematic, because we can't make some predictions about the lifespan of that roof and so forth.
Mary, do you have any questions or want to lead some discussion on this subject with anybody?
I don't have any questions. I too wanted, excuse me, to say thank you for everything you guys have done. I've enjoyed every meeting. I've You are a rocking team, that's for sure. And I will miss you all greatly, but just thank you for making this happen and all you did to make this happen, because it will be a great asset for this town and for PRPD. So it'll mean a lot for PRPD to keep giving back to the town and making this town a greater place. So thank you.
Okay, I think it's my turn. I too want to sincerely thank you all for what you've done. You folks are rock stars as far as I'm concerned, and it's just an honor that you're willing to let us follow in your path, take on this facility, and try to open it up for the community as a whole. I do have one question, however. Today's action being asked of us as board is to adopt this resolution document. And the resolution document ties itself to what's called a transfer agreement document. And the question I have for you folks that represent PCC, and you can just come up and tell us, has your counsel, legal counsel, reviewed that transfer agreement document, and has your legal counsel advised you that it's appropriate for today's action?
I could start that and then we could kick it over to them, but we had some comments from their council 2 weeks ago or so. Yeah, about 2 weeks ago, we gave that to our attorney who produced the draft that's in here. Now, I call it draft because they have not had a chance to review it, and we anticipate there's going to be some back and forth on some of the language. But the idea is that we wanted to provide in here so you get a sense as to the scale of the document. And I think the resolution kind of reflects that too. The notion of the deal, what's involved here, and there may be some language we have to perfect here in the agreement for both parties to sign, but that's the intent, is to give you something to look at as they're reviewing it and we finalize it. So I don't know if one of you want to come up and address that, your attorney review process. And I know they just got this document, the revised, I think, day of this packet going out.
Yes, our legal counsel reviewed the original transfer agreement that was from May 5th and February. And a lot of the things that were in there were just irrelevant anymore. It was about completing the building, about things that were going to happen. And so our attorney basically said it was delete, 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 delete. And it came down to the fact that this is a gift that we are giving to the Parks and Recreation. And some of the language had to do with that and the transfer. And the comments that are there from your attorney back, I think that they're ones that I don't think are going to complicate any of this, except to change some of the language a little bit.
Okay. Well, while you're there, can you tell us collectively amongst your board, are you in agreement with this transfer agreement document?
Yes,
in
I think the
current
only
format?
only thing was something that he had in there about the fact that it is a gift and it's as is. There's some language in there
Right,
that
right.
about that a government can't do that. And so I think that's where our attorney has to
Okay.
figure that out.
Okay.
So that was what I saw was, and our attorney hasn't been able to review the attorney's comments yet. So
Okay. Well, thank you, Jen. I appreciate that input.
I also like to tell you that, we do have to go through the Department of Justice and the Secretary of State when we do a dissolution of a 501c3
Right.
to get it approved. And the Attorney General said that it looked like it was only a couple of weeks before we'll get a response from all of the paperwork we sent, which does include our taxes and does include, they have the last 3 years of our taxes that they have to review, including this 24. So we don't anticipate any problems with that. The attorney submitted everything that we needed to do.
That's a good point. And
Yeah.
when I did a deep dive into all the related documents, and it seems to me that you folks are current as far as your taxes are concerned, your property tax.
When
But
the
for-
property taxes, no, we will not get that. And that's where we'll probably set up a little contingency for anything that's unexpected,
right.
because she's told me that it won't be till next year. What they do is we're going to get a pro rata share for the number of months that we have the property, and the Parks and Rec will get, so like say this happened October 31st, that we
Right.
could actually get everything done. We're going to get the taxes up till October 31st.
Okay.
And then-
I'm glad you shared that for the record.
And then
Okay.
the parks would get the rest. If it's the whole year, then we have to pay the taxes for the whole year. And
Right.
she wouldn't give me that amount because she thinks we're so close to having this thing be transferred.
Makes
So,
sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But you have set aside some funds for that
yeah,
purpose.
yes, yeah.
And that's, we're just sharing that for the record
Yeah,
today.
any of the bills that we have or anticipate, we want the money there to pay for them.
Very good.
So that we don't want it, we want it to be sure that we're all clear and that all of our bills are paid. So, and there's not many left, believe it or not.
Yay.
The kitchen's paid for, the solar's got like $9,000 left. And we have a sign going up in the front on the street and language on the building. So those are so far the only expenses we have left.
Right.
So.
And then,
And just to reiterate, add to what Jan said, they, big part of what the, I think it's probably double the size originally what we had, the agreement, because it had a number of things that we want to make sure were addressed. Well, they've been addressed.
Yeah.
We don't have to ensure that they happen. And then I think another addition that would happen was that section on the retention for taxes and incidentals, so it doesn't fall on board members of the dissolved body. Fiscal responsibility that it's the nonprofit funds that are paying for that. So I think that all seems reasonable to our attorney and her review of it.
okay, that helps a lot of clarification for me. And then it's a kind of a curiosity. It's kind of past history, but as you well know, this property is subject to covenants and restrictions and a cooperative sharing of the parking facilities with PPAC and that type of thing. And if I read those documents correctly, I suppose they'll have to possibly be modified once we become we being the district here, the property owner, with negotiate an agreement with PPAC, I suppose, to make sure that those documents are modified accordingly and then re-recorded, that type of thing. But I am just kind of curious, the history of the parking facility. If I remember correctly, one of those documents said that your organization and PPAC, at minimum once every third year or something like that, would do something with the parking improvements. And I don't know if there was a history of that or not, but it's kind of interesting that the document says that, but it's minor. It's past history anyway. It doesn't matter. But that's something we'll probably look at again with PPAC when we have to renegotiate those types of interactions and agreements, that type of thing. Just thought I'd share that. Do you folks have anything you want to add to this agenda item? Yes, we would love that. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Shores. The solar panels are on the roof and complete. The connection to the PG&E is complete on the outside, and a battery backup is inside one of the rooms in a cabinet. And I talked to the contractors the other day, and they are building, as Dan knows, a cabinet that matches the interior color of our doors, which is a kind of a dark brown. And that'll be complete next week. The only thing left after that will be that PG&E has to shut the system down for the day so they can connect to the system. And then if they can get them to come back, then they'll turn it back on that same day, which is always questionable. And the system itself is a 30 kilowatt system, and it has a 10-year warranty that we included in the price when we had it built.
What's the warranty on the battery?
It's the same. It's 10 years.
Because they do vary. Some
Yeah,
are
it's a
10,
it's a
some
battery it's
15.
a battery stack.
Okay.
So, but I don't know what time your meeting is over, but I'm meeting with Heidi Lang at 3 o'clock this afternoon. If you'd like to join us over there for a tour, those of you who haven't seen it, you're more than welcome to come over. I
Hey,
don't know
we
what time your
appreciate that.
meeting's over, but
Okay.
we can show you the facility. We'll show you the parking lot, where our property ends and where PPAC starts. And you'll be able to see the landscaping, everything that we've done.
Mhm.
We're also working with Hobart. There are some freestanding shelves in the kitchen that we decided that we didn't know where you wanted them, so we didn't have that. So there's some remaining labor that they owe us, and we're trying to make a trade for that remaining labor to supply the kitchen with pots and pans and some of the needs that you guys will need to get started.
That's really great news. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Sure.
Was the solar panel system designed based on your PG&E past usage or billings and that type of thing, or not?
Well, originally, we had solar on the original building. And just before the fire, it was installed, but it was never hooked up. And the fire took it down. So consequently, we had to pay a substantial amount more for the existing system than we would have if we had been connected at the time. And that included the labor costs, which was substantial, with the prevailing wages.
Wow.
But it should be up and running probably sometime next week.
That's wonderful
Yeah.
news.
Yeah, we're very proud of it.
Do any other board members have any questions?
Yeah, I got a
John?
couple. You've already answered some. With regard to the paperwork, the net metering agreement, is that all signed and checkboxed and everything with PG&E?
It is, yes.
Okay. And number two, I- approximately, I know it depends on the power draw, but how long is the battery backup slated to last?
That I couldn't tell you, but I
Okay.
can find out from the contractor. We're in touch.
And
So.
lastly, would it happen to be wired too for outside generation, a ready hookup?
That I don't know as well.
Okay. I'm just thinking in terms of.
Yeah. We can certainly
resilience.
find that out. Yeah, we can find that out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, very good. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to this agenda item here in the audience this afternoon? Okay, judging by their silence, let's bring it back to the board. Does the board have any further discussion they want to offer to one another before we consider an action?
Can we get any information about the funds the town might be considering regarding the first year of operations?
Not part of today's agenda. We'll bring it back here, but I could talk about it in general, that there is community block grant funding available that our district has used before for programs. It's earmarked for seniors and underrepresented members, community, youth, especially special needs members of our population. And so the idea is to set up some funding that we'll bring back here for consideration for programming at PCC, because that was the senior center before. It seemed like a logical place there to have a lot of activities that are, directed for seniors there. So that's, I don't want to go too much into detail because it's not an agendized item today.
Anything else? Okay, we'll declare this as back to the board and we need to consider an action. Does anybody want to entertain an action on this?
What am I know. I make a motion. That's what I was trying to come up with for Paradise Recreation and Park District Board to approve resolution number 25-09-2-553 with the Paradise Community Center.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion that's been made and seconded. Before we ask the Madam Clerk for a roll call vote, is there any discussion on the motion briefly?
Just want to say for the record that I still feel this is a bit premature, that the district has gone through a long series of acquisitions where the long-term costs to the taxpayers have not been made clear. It would be nice to have a better understanding of what revenues we might be able to expect from this acquisition.
Okay. Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Director Robert Anderson,
Aye.
Director Steve Rodwick,
Aye.
Secretary John Stonebreaker,
Abstain.
Vice Chairperson Mary Belfay,
Aye.
and Chairperson Alma Green.
Aye.
Motion carries with 4 ayes and 1 abstain.
Okay, Madam Clerk, at this point in time, let's applaud these folks.
And let me just add, while indeed, like you said, this is a gift to us in a greater way, it's a larger gift to the community. Thank you.
And I wanted to make sure it was on your guys' calendar while you're here, but we're looking at October 16th. If it's not transferred, we'll have to ask you for the keys, but we'd like to do a little bit of a grand opening. Yeah, right. It's for your proceeds there. But we'd like to do kick it off and give it a proper, welcome to the community. Exactly. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Certainly.
Okay, let's move on, ladies and gentlemen, to the next agenda item, which is item 3.2 on our old business, 2026 new district medical benefits. Staff, you want to kick this off for us, please?
Yeah, I'll give just a brief introduction overview, and then we're going to have Sarah walk through it a little bit. But I think board knows from our recent action to pull out of CalPERS Medical that we're going to shift over to working with GCI on enrolling in Anthem Blue Cross. There are some other questions that we had that we're going to explore personnel committee and then finance committee meetings to look at options. So, whether district picks up medical dental, there's a HRA option, retirees on the proportion they pay, and then also what we do with our what's called a medical allocation for folks that aren't currently on our medical. So there's some separate decisions that have to be made that we're not considering today here, and Sarah can walk through this more narrow decision tonight to look at a new affordable medical provider.
Yeah, so I mean, this is fairly basic. You'll see that it is the 2025 application. The 2026 one actually doesn't come out until mid-October. And if you were part of the personnel committee the other day, my dates were wrong. This doesn't come out until mid-October. It's not due till the end of October. We will have an open enrollment meeting where they will come up and help everyone fill out their individual application and the districts both in one day, and that'll be the very beginning of November. So I misspoke yesterday on my dates. And they will help all retirees as well. It's not necessarily like an application where we get approved or denied. Application. It's like it's just how we get in. They're not going to deny us and say no, and we all of a sudden don't have insurance. Any questions?
The only question I have is, given the fact that we're going to unfortunately lose Mary after today, with concurrence of the board, I'd like to assign myself as chair, since there's not that much remainder of the calendar year, to sit in as a member of the personnel committee starting next month. So that committee can still function and proceed with staff on this particular item. So hopefully concurrence from everybody on that.
Well, as the other member of the personnel committee, I indeed concur.
Yeah, I concur. I think it makes much more sense than when the new board member comes on, because they won't know the history and all that stuff. So,
Boy, is
I
their history.
or the what?
He's saying, boy, is their history.
Thanks, Al, you'll be a great replacement.
Well, I don't know about that, but anyway, I just thought it might be the logical thing to do if the board concurs. So thank you. So let's move into this agenda item itself. Does the board, you've got something in besides what you heard today that verbally, you got a little bit in the staff report too. So I think it's just a straightforward action being asked us to authorize them to proceed and finalize all the questions, and within the window still that we eventually approved relative to us leaving PERS medical. So, do the board? Yeah.
I initially thought that this would be straightforward until I saw all of the blank checkboxes on this and was given incorrect dates about the time frame. So if it turns out that this is going to come back to committee, I hope that committee will have the ability to give some direction, such as regarding including dental and vision and regarding the cost share between the district and the individuals, and also our chair's previous question about whether board members might also have the option to enroll in this plan. So I would like to have the opportunity within committee to have some of those conversations before everything is finalized. Is the time frame going to allow that?
Yeah, actually, let me clarify something that may not be clear. I thought it was clear in the packet. This is a very narrow decision. This is a more technical decision on whether we're going to go to the medical program with GCI. The item that still needs to be discussed, and this, we have time for it, that we're not on the same clock, would be that medical, or excuse me, the HRA account, the dental and vision, and what am I missing? Oh, the medical allocation. Those are other decisions that we could look at that are separate from this one. This one is strictly the medical insurance side of it.
So where the recommendation is to authorize the district manager to complete this application that still has a number of check boxes, the question was, does the time frame allow committee to give direction to the district manager in his completion of this application?
I'm going to let Sarah answer this, but my understanding is that the vision, currently, our current program, we have vision and dental, it's employee covered. The only thing that would be different would be, it could be district picks it up, in which case there's no real, there's notification to them, but there's not a new application. It's not new insurance. Same might apply to the HRA and some of the other programs. HRA might be a little bit different, might be calendar year, or fiscal year, but it is, we have time for that. All the medical insurance stuff kind of has the end of year clock on enrollment. Sarah, do you want to add anything to that on the timing?
Could you just review the timeline again and just when we have to give the application to Anthem and when the employees have to have this application to Anthem and then when the insurance takes effect? Thank you.
Okay, so originally when we put this in the packet, okay, sorry, now this application is not due until the end of October, which will give us both finance and personnel committee meetings to discuss the additional benefits of dental vision to finish the check boxes in this. Then we will submit it at the end of October. Open enrollment begins mid-November and due towards the end of November, beginning of December. He would like, Stoney, who is from GCI, would like to have everything in at the beginning of December so that this all can take place at the beginning of January. Yes. And I did also ask several different recreation departments within the boundaries, so Feather River, Durham, Chico. None of them offer this to the board, any kind of benefits. It is not like they don't want to, it's just never come up in conversation. So it is something we could do, and that's a discussion for another time, but that question that was asked to me has been addressed to several other recreation departments. So
if it's any comfort, we do provide workers' comp during your time serving on the meeting times.
So I don't remember discussing the board part at a
it came
committee
up
meeting, but
last year.
okay, that's right, it did. Okay, I remember that. But so that question was asked to Anthem.
No, it was asked to other, because
Right, if they offer
we could
it.
do whatever we wanted, but
Oh,
it was
okay.
asked for me to ask other recreation
Right.
departments what they do.
And
So I did do that, and it's not really a thing, but it could be a thing. We could be the leaders. Who knows? But it was asked. I did my due diligence on that part.
What does give me comfort is, like you just added today, that we had some questions on timing in the committee meeting, but you informed us that, I forget, either representatives of GCI or Anthem themselves come in and personally help everybody get the check boxes checked and everything and signed off. And that's, for a lot of people, particularly me, that'd be huge.
Yeah. And they're doing it for the retarees as well. And for the 2 retirees that are out of state, they will be calling, like not, they don't have GCI in the other two states, but they do have connections to Medicare within those states, and they will connect them with the correct people to find Medicare in their state as well.
So bear with me, but just because I haven't been involved with the committee process, but the possibility of us shifting over to this other program for our employees, when you as staff, administrative staff, work with our respective committees during this coming month, you only got enough time for one committee meeting with each committee, personnel and finance, before you hit the end of the month deadline. When you have those discussions with the committees, how does that relate, this potential new shift of coverage and contributions by the employer, us being the district, how does that relate to the current relationship we have now with our employees in terms of the district's contribution towards medical coverage and the like? Is that going to be part and parcel of the process? I don't know. I'm asking the question.
One thing that's helped us, and we thought about this, we had a conversation about it just today. This is kind of, all this medical can be placed in one bag or box, right? And that gets all tangled up. So I think that the way we're approaching it right now is separating it out. First question is medical insurance. That's what the section is here. The second part would be the district proportion, if we so choose to pick up vision, dental, and for whom, on staff board, whatever. And then the other questions I mentioned about that are kind of medical insurance adjacent, right? So the HRA could be a new program we provide and so forth. All of those additions, if they're discussed at committee and we're looking at changes that would incur additional costs to the district, would have to come back to the board. Yeah, so I think that the timeline that Sarah just laid out, I think it's important for us to get it started, get our application going from the district standpoint. We get some help on it. But it sounds like a lot of these can be continued until early December, in which case we would have another board meeting, a kind of regular board meeting, in which case we can do it. And I don't know when in December we could conceivably delay till then, but I bet they want to get it lined up, end of it.
Well, and currently, some staff pay their own dental and vision. So they're getting it, but one of the options could be if the district picks up that cost. And that is still being discussed and at committee level. But for today, it's just, and then the HRA has been and probably finance level as well. That would be something that the district could contribute to or not.
Thank you. That's clarification for me. Today's action doesn't
Right.
entail that. I'm just asking,
The big
if
picture.
that comes up in the process, is there enough time for that to be accounted for? And then you just explain, if that becomes some new things, then eventually it's got to come to the full board.
Right.
Before the calendar year, right?
Right.
Thank you. That's all I
Yeah.
really needed.
I mean, he said December's doable, but it was highly suggested that we don't wait until December. So I think committee in October, back to the board November is probably the most reasonable timeline. And I know that you are just coming into this, Alan. I have no problem if you have time. If you want to come in and I can try to catch you up to speed, I could show you a bunch of the paperwork as well.
And I do think, we had a discussion, we had all the costs. We discussed kind of the whole thing last time at personnel. And it became kind of clear to me and to us that it made a lot of sense to separate it out and have a discussion per each item. And that way it makes it a lot more of a kind of a menu option. A la carte menu option that we can then go through, because some of them have implications, right? So if we decide to do an HRA, that the district's picking up that amount, still could come out ahead on some of our, maybe it's that in lieu of some of the other things that we pay for. So it could be some combination once we go through the a la carte and pick out some of these options.
Right, I understand that. And you'll include finance committee appropriately, because they have to see how those potential shifts relate financially to our contributions from previously.
That's right. And there's a little bit different math too with the new insurance, because it isn't just per person. It is associated with age. It's actuarial based. So there'll be some differences there, but I think that part's pretty clear.
And one thing, just a comment on the side, part of the reason for all of this is to help with staff retention and staff attraction. So when the committees and the board, it comes back to the board, keep that in mind that we want to keep the great staff and it will attract different, new staff when we need it, because that's just all part of the whole idea of this changing the
Thank you,
insurance.
Mayor. I appreciate you sharing that officially for the record. I've been thinking that all along, but I just didn't know because I wasn't involved at committee level. But anyway, you were about to say something, John?
I just wanted to be sure that the Finance Committee would have the opportunity to review the various different options so that we could make sure that we were providing the best benefits to our employees within the same sort of price that we've been paying previously. So I just want to ask again, do we know if the 2026 enrollment application will be released before the regular Finance Committee meeting date in October?
I'm trying to think of when the finance committee is. Was it the eight? It's in the teens.
It would be on the 16th.
I can double check. I don't want to say yes or no.
Okay.
But what Sony had explained to me, that the application is going to look identical. It's just going to have 2026 numbers. That's why I felt comfortable giving you the 2025. But if anything changes.
Understanding now that the agreement for next year will be very similar to the application in front of us right now. The only question is then, do we need to authorize the district manager to complete this now? What will be coming back to the full board in November?
I would suggest that we authorize this part to complete the application, just to make sure that that's in motion and that, if there's questions that come up that we're kind of, in conversation with them. If there needs to be some decisions that need to come back to the board, we can hold off on that, but it looks like that fits in with the timeline as long as we have that. The Finance Committee meeting, by the way, is Thursday, October 16th. So we have that date. That gives us quite a bit of time between then and the packet going out for the November meeting. I know there's some limitations on a special meeting. If we had to, we could schedule one, but I think that just keeping it to the regular board meeting will work out with that timing. And I think we can address those other items and have costs that are laid out pretty clearly. That will be total cost to the district for finance and personnel.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to this agenda item today? Hearing none, we'll bring it back to the full board. What's the pleasure of the board on this agenda item?
Mr. Chair, I authorize the district manager to complete the 2026 employer employment application to join Anthem Blue Cross Medical.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, I motion to authorize the district manager to complete the 2026 employer enrollment application to join Anthem Blue Cross Medical.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion that's been made, clearly, and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion before we ask for roll call vote?
Just want to say that I do expect this to come back before Finance Committee and then possibly before the full board again, but that's all.
Okay, Madam Clerk, will we have a roll call vote, please?
Director Robert Anderson,
Aye.
Director Steve Rodwick,
Aye.
Secretary John Stonebreaker,
Aye.
Vice Chairperson Mary Belfay,
Aye.
and Chairperson Alma Green. Motion carries with 5 ayes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving on, board comments. We'll start to my immediate right. Robert, comments in general, or anything you want to say about Mary, or to Mary, or to the public?
We're gonna miss
Attendees?
you, Mary. Your intelligence and morals have been great this past 9 years since we both came on the board together.
If it's my turn, I would also like to express my appreciation to Mary for her years since I first met her in the first anniversary commemorations, but also the respect that she showed me as a member of the public at the opposite side of the room, and then her kindness in helping to onboard me into my current role. It's been very good to have this relationship with you, and it has eased my transition into this seat. I would also say that what I learned yesterday at the Paradise Irrigation District meeting as our liaison was that there have been fruitful discussions between county staff and district staff and the district chair, where the district is willing to take on the initial expense of redesigning the Magalia Dam to facilitate future road widening under the assumption that the county will reimburse them if that were ever to come to pass. So that will still be up on the supervisor's agenda. We're expecting that on September 30th, but it's been very good to play some small role in putting these two agencies together on the same train.
It sounds like a big assumption they're carrying forward to the county, but hopefully it'll all play out successfully.
I just have a question regarding the what district will work with the Board
So
of
the
Supervisors?
irrigation district, which is currently working on
Paradise or DeSabla?
the irrigation district working on Magalia Dam is right. Because Magalia Dam has been deemed to be seismically unstable and also has a deficient spillway, the irrigation district has received grant funding to redesign it so that it doesn't fail catastrophically. And they offered the opportunity to the county that in the process of this redesign, would the county ever be interested in potentially widening the road that crosses the crest of the dam in the future? And as of the March irrigation district meeting, the county had not been participating in those discussions, but due in part to citizen involvement, the public works staff has forwarded that to administration, and administration and our supervisor had a meeting with irrigation district staff and their chair on Monday of this week, where it sounds as though they've come to an agreement that will have to go before the full board.
Right, I understand that. My question
sorry.
is, who's the irrigation district?
PID,
PID, okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know if it was DeSabla or PID. Okay, thank you.
Steve?
Thank you, Mary. I just, we will miss you, and I just want to remind you, because of the wonders of technology, you can always zoom in to any one of our meetings, turn your camera on so we can see your smiling face, and we can say hi. Granted, it's mountain time, and it might go a little too late, but, endeavor to show up every now and again.
There's a time change difference, so I might get mixed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to extend the board comments further out to the staff that's present this afternoon if they wish to say anything for Mary and to Mary before I throw my 2 cents in there too. So, staff?
It's great. Maybe we can make her cry. Mary, it's been an incredible pleasure to work with you. You've been very kind to your constituents. You've been kind to our staff. I think importantly, you've always been a champion for recognizing people that are doing good work and giving appreciation.
Die, right? Oh, Mary
That's right.
says
That's right. What would
recognize.
Mary say? Right. And
Right.
and just I think your guidance and being I think a very much a true champion for all parts of the district. Every decision you make isn't just for one corner of it, but you think about how does it affect the whole district, and I think having a long-term perspective on it. So our district, me personally, will miss you quite a bit. So you'll be a hard voice to hear go quiet on our board, but we wish you all the best. on moving forward. I know that we have a few tokens here that I think we'll reserve until the chair provides some other kind words. But we're going to miss you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, want to say anything staff-wise?
Since I had the opportunity, thank you, Mr. Director McGrean. As in the professional role serving the district, I really appreciate your guidance and thoughtfulness, and you really challenge us to consider a lot of different elements. And I think it's made us better for having had your guidance in that regard. So I really appreciate you. On a personal level, you're just always there for staff. And that is also appreciated because we all are human after all. So I just really appreciate you as a whole person package, you know, really representing and advocating for all the recreational users, you know, that we want to support in the district. So thank you for that. You're going to be impossible to replace, but we hope to find someone that is, you know, equally passionate about, you know, working to better the district, helping us to continuously improve and offer all the services we can to really do the best work for the people that we represent and serve. So thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
So, Mary, I don't even know where to begin. You and I go back a long, long ways, my friend. But our friendship and knowing who you are and what you are and your caring in so many different endeavors for this whole ridge area and the community is something I was aware of long before you even became a member of this board. But it's just been my honor to be your friend. And hopefully we'll stay in touch. Okay. I know. But wow. You're ready for another chapter. I know you are. Yep. But you know, I could go on and on, but I'm not going to bore everybody with all these different things. You and I can have a better one-on-one, but in the appropriate time. But I do have something I want to share with you that's from my wife, and you know her well, so yes.
I just always go back to when I saw you and Lori splitting a sandwich at Costco restaurant, and that was your dinner, your date night out. There was nothing wrong with it, but it was well, that's why they went there.
You're going to make me blush now. Don't do that. That was decades ago.
It was, but it was just cute. They're
Yeah.
just sitting there splitting a sandwich, having their little date time, and it was very cute.
Mr. Chair, we wanted to give Sarah arranged for a few little gifts that no way kind of capture our appreciation, but maybe they're a few things that kind of warm your heart and remind you of us and your service with the district and the community. You've been a big part of the community for a long time, an important part. 47, 48 years. We'll round it up to 48 years. But Sarah, why don't you present some of the stuff with the chair? Maybe we can get some pictures and yeah. So I've
already been eyeing it.
and Steve also wanted to share.
Okay, just declare the adjourned, and we just do the exchange and presentation. Is that okay? That way we don't have to sit in front of the microphone.
And then we can, yeah.
Is that all right? Is everybody
Sure.
concurrence?
Concur certainly.
We'll declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you.